born and raised in New Jersey, coming out of the food industry. I'm a food technologist. We've been retired since about 5 years now.
Yeah, 16, yeah. 5 years.
And don't miss it for a minute, you know. And you were a teacher.
Yeah, I started out in special education, a little bit of high school, middle school, elementary, and then I went back and got my master's as a learning consultant. So I did a lot of evaluation and planning of kids and what their needs were going to be in terms of modifying the programs and in placement. So it was a nice switch. I did like 20 years in the classrooms and then another 14 kind of behind the scenes working with parents and teachers and that sort of thing and testing. So it was it's like 2 careers. Mm-hmm. So I was really blessed, really blessed. He was chomping at the bit to retire, and I really was having a pretty good ride. But then state laws and things got a little more, and I said, you know what? I think I'm ready. So
there was a bit of a culture shock moving from suburban New Jersey
Mm-hmm.
to rural Delaware.
Yeah.
You know, when we got here, everyone had LSD stickers on their car. I said, what's going on with that? They said, lower, slower Delaware.
Yeah.
And it's lower and it's slower.
But we're used to it now.
Oh yeah, I love it now. I love it.
We usually give the church a couple months, unless we walk in the door and say, oh, sign on. Mm-hmm. But we kept driving past on our way down, looking at places down here. And the facility reminded us of a lot of one of our favorite churches. But it's a good 25, 30 minutes away, so we kept putting off the list. So we kept getting broader, widening our circle. And I said, we got to try this church. I just don't think we want to get settled till I rule this off. And yeah, we knew like the second or third week that this was going to be home. Yeah.
What clinched it for me were the donuts. No, just kidding, just kidding. No, we love it here. It's a great place. You know, we knew right after 2 or 3 visits that this was going to be our home.
Yeah. The music, the message, the people, the activities, the support you give to people, the Bible studies. It had what we consider some of the essential things in a good church family. And then just meeting people, and the second Sunday, I think, Pastor Bob met us at the door, basically. And
I'm amazed that a pastor can remember 500 people's names, and their wives, and their kids. You know, that's a gift, and he has it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. I'm helping out with the women's Bible studies, and I've had lots of churches where I got to do that. And started out small, and I just found the Lord took over. Once I realized it wasn't about me, and it was just getting ladies comfortable and talking and praying with some guidelines, you know, so we don't hurt people by accident. It was all God. We had small groups in our homes, and that's when he got more involved with it, because the men come with the ladies, and then we found it worked best if we had the men
split up. Once a quarter, we do a men's breakfast, and we're trying to get men's ministry off the ground a little bit more. We have, you know, and it's not all about golf trips and fishing and axe throwing as they did last month, you know. But it's been a wonderful experience so far. It's been about 3 years we've been here.
I think it's more, four and a half, yeah.
Yeah,
it's a long time. It doesn't seem like a long time, but I grew up in Pittsburgh, one of 8 kids, then went to Rutgers, and ended up staying. I called my parents. I said, I don't think I'm going to get married. I'm going to stay here. Can I borrow $300? I dated the same guy all through high school, all through college. And I kind of realized, no, we really should give ourselves time. And he was home, and so I said, yeah, let's break the engagement. And I'm not coming home, Mom. And they were really cool with it. They were really, no, and you know, $300 is not a lot, but I had a place to stay, and then I got a job working in a halfway house for girls a couple hours, Rite Aid, and then God worked a thing that I got a job, full-time job at Merck.
We met, I was out in California for a few years and then came back after graduation, and I met Beth at a party, and we started dating.
That's when I think we became a team. This is when I was at my first job in Pumpkin Lakes as a teacher, and I came down with some kind of cancerous kind of thing, and uterine cancer or something, those symptoms. And oh my gosh, I just finished seeing this Jackie Robinson story about a woman who died from uterine cancer, and I'm like, oh my gosh. He was very supportive and very helpful. We'll get through this, don't worry. And that was a game changer, because to have that support, whether I died or not, he was there, and I just thought that was manly of him and just what I needed. So when he didn't, I don't know if he knew how important that was for me, because I had dated, and a lot of people that I wanted to experiment, kind of just find out what's out there before I settle down. That's the reason why I broke up. And he was like the third man I had sort of dated. But that was a really, okay, Beth, take a look at him again. Take a big look at him.
I didn't go running for the hills.
No, you didn't. And you were supportive. And like you said, you were there for me. And I don't think some of the men I would have seen would have been. Mm-hmm. And so that, to me, was the beginning of like,
That's right.
Yep.
We were married in 1981.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. In fact, we're coming up on our 40th anniversary this week, next month.
He had a job offer in Milwaukee, and I was thinking, well, I love him. I'm not going to go out there unless we're married,
Yeah.
And so I think I proposed to you, because and it's like my sisters. Whenever we visit my family, he says he really wants to get married. I said, don't tell me that. I don't want to get married. Don't tell me that he wants to get married. I'm not ready to hear that. But I kind of knew that he'd say yes if I asked him. So I said, well, let's get married before.
Okay. I was not saved at that point. Beth was. And I grew up in a kind of a, not very effective Roman Catholic household. 12 years of Catholic high school and grammar school. So when I went off to college, I just went screaming from God and from church, and stayed there for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we got married in 81, and I was just kind of going along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
And we were at this parish couples weekend one at a church we were at.
Mm-hmm.
And some guy came up to me after church. He said, I was watching you during the service. He goes, it doesn't look like you're really into this. I said, no, I'm really not. He goes, would you like to be? I said, yeah, I would. So he took me aside, and we went to a little room and prayed, and that was it. That's when I accepted the Lord. And it was interesting. I didn't, the next day, I didn't see any skyrockets, but I knew something was different, and it's just been a roller coaster, but it's been up and up and up ever since then, So that's really when we got together as a team.
Yeah. Not that we were fighting, but I did my church thing, and we had children, and we said, we got to do something. He at least understood that we need to give them a foundation. Mm-hmm. And he didn't like the Roman Catholic Church. So then I said, okay. And I was going to Assemblies of God by that point, had been baptized, and I was on fire for the Lord again. And we found out, somebody said, go to Episcopal Church. It's the same liturgy as a Catholic church. And that's the church we went to when you found the Lord. Mm-hmm. And he's always been a good man, a generous father, a good man, good provider. But to have him know the Lord was just...
Yeah.
3 children. Yeah. The oldest is 34. Mm-hmm. Then we have one 32 and one 24.
We had lots of God moments raising the kids.
Yeah.
All 3 of our kids gave us, if I had hair, they'd be gray.
All good things.
But we prayed through them all, and God answered all of them. Got them all through.
One is walking, Brendan.
Yeah.
He was, he went through a rough phase in college where we didn't know he was an alcoholic, and he bummed out or dropped out of first year and kind of hit it. But then finally he came out, and he's totally sober. We'll be celebrating 10 years, October 29th. Mm-hmm. So he knows the Lord. Yeah.
And we just got to keep staying faithful and keep praying, which we do every day.
Yeah. Well, we wanted a 3rd child and we couldn't. But God really answered. I remember getting a verse saying, you're going to get your dream, but you're going to have to wait. And so I held on to that, and we did. And then we started looking into adopting. We realized in the United States we'd be competing, and we didn't want to do that with infertile couples. So we started looking abroad, and we were kind of old in age. And I think Korea would let you do it at the age of 40. He was just about to turn 40. And he couldn't do that.
And in China, like 80 to 90% of the kids in orphanages are girls, because they have the one-child policy, and if you can only have one, you want to have a boy.
Right.
And so a lot of the girls are abandoned or aborted or given up. And that's what our daughter was abandoned. So she ended up in an orphanage in Xinhuan City by Guangzhou. So we traveled there and spent, and then we hit this crisis, and we went there with the promise of getting a different child, But, you know, her handicap was far more serious than we had been told. And it would have required a lifetime of surgery and hospitalization, and, you know. So we pushed back and said, listen, I'm sorry, this is not what we were promised. So they took her back and said, okay, go home. You're not going to get a child, come back in a couple of years. So that's when we started praying.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we were shocked. Yeah. Oh my gosh, they weren't going to give us any children, and we had no options, and we were in China we were there. But I was reading, and I've forgotten the author, but it was about thanking God and praising God through the storm. And this goes back, Deborah's 24, so this is almost 25 years ago. And so I just said, we're going to thank God for this. I don't know what's going to happen. We have no control. So what else, what are you going to do? It's going to be what it is. And we just prayed through every day that God would make a way. Yeah, so God gave us confidence to speak up about it. Because normally we would, I want a foreign country. We wouldn't say boo, but God gave us the wisdom to speak up and to trust that they were going to make it right.
Mm-hmm.
And he did. We're in this little tiny room, and it's hot, and it's kind of quaint and interesting, and we're just like waiting and waiting and waiting. And then all of a sudden, this little one came in, she's low birth weight. And I said, okay, well, I know that's not really good, being a special ed teacher, but God can work miracles. Yeah, we'll work with it,
Get her home, get a few cheeseburgers in her, she'll be fine.
Yeah.
And that's Deborah.
Yeah. We got her at 4 months, and she weighed 9 pounds, 3 ounces, fully clothed. She's been tiny her whole entire life. But God,
she's like 4'10" now, and she wants to be a police officer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have some special news today. Our first grandchild was born yesterday.
Yes.
Ian Thomas O'Brien, son of my son Sean and his wife Jenna.
Yeah.
So we're just delighted.
Yes.